3, 2, and we're live! Greetings and salutations. I'm Unthoth Neverborn, the abyss that slumbers, and you are listening to Eldritch Rants. I know normally we've moved over to Saturdays, but we're going to be having a Star Trek Discovery only rant about the season up until now, discussing the past 6 episodes. Trying to get a bunch of people together. If you're interested, please come by. Otherwise, we're going to be going with our usual panel of experts here, which is me and Kekistani. This is more just a catch up on local topics, and so much has been happening, and I don't want it to interrupt tomorrow evening. Any rate, let's get started with the first topic of the evening, which is also about tomorrow. Star Trek Discovery has been renewed for Season 2 by CBS All Access.
Shoot me.
Just freaking... Oh, dear God. This is... How? I mean...
They shouldn't even be able to be producing more episodes of this shit. I mean, like, why another...
See, my issue is that given the... How is it making them money is my question.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a single person actually say, they are a fan of the show.
Even when feminist frequency is tearing your show apart. Feminist frickin' frequency has on some black feminist who's going, I got some problems with the main character. Wow. I mean, dear God. And they renewed it. And this is just a sign of automatic... here's the thing is what I think is going to happen. Right now, it looks good on paper. Because I'm willing to bet there's a whole bunch of people... We're only 2 months into this. There's a whole bunch of people who have signed up for this just to hate wattage. Okay, you probably got a ton of people just hate watching it. My question is that when these 1 month free subscriptions or 1 month trial period is over, how many people are still going to be subscribed come January? But this is, we're going to leave this part, the big discussion about Star Trek, up for tomorrow night. But this is why, hey, if you're out there, you're watching this, you want to come on, you want to rant, it's been renewed. If you've got a spleen to vent, here you go. Any comments other than just shoot me?
So, I get that people hold different tastes in media and what they find entertaining, but there's not a single person I've seen talking about the show other than to say how terrible it is. And when you have feminist frequency holding a legitimately good opinion, in the sense that it's correct because it's a fucking shit show, against you, then you have a lot of problems, and the fact that you only have 1 season isn't a problem. It's the fact that it exists.
For me, and I'm going to bring this up tomorrow, if anybody wants to refute this point, please do. Episode 5, they have a male officer who was raped by a female Klingon for 7 months, and the very next episode, the main character, the 2 main female leads of this show are sexualizing him and hitting on him. Now, reverse everything, okay? Female officer raped by a male Klingon for 7 months. 2 male leads, 2 male officers on the ship go to the female rape victim who hasn't even had a weekend off, hasn't even seen a counselor, is put back on the job on the front lines of a war without so much as a 3-day pass, and they're being hit on. Now, if there was that gender breakdown, every feminist on the planet be losing their shit. Okay?
Fuck, even I'm sure lots of people, including me, would be a bit upset with that. I mean, I'm upset with the whole thing in general, regardless of whether it's male or female. I mean, I get that it's just a show, but...
and I mean, there's lots of stuff so you can argue against it, but in my opinion, at this point, This is the point where it crosses the moral event horizon. So, but we're more into this tomorrow. I just wanted to touch on this to get like a little thing stirred up. And please, if this annoys you, come by tomorrow. About 10 o'clock if I have my way, maybe closer to 11. It all depends on how things I get wrapped up here. Anyway, shall we move on to the next topics?
Sure.
This one stood out to me. Alphabet, which is the owner of Google, which owns, YouTube. Sidewalk Lab strikes up a deal to turn 800 acres of Toronto into an internet city. The reason I want to bring this up here is because they've been tossing around a couple of plans that I've seen elsewhere. And part of it involves basically giving its own weather system, which would involve putting a dome over it. All of this progressive, high-tech, renewable resources crap.
Toronto, Ontario.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's something I want to bring up from my own personal experience because I've seen this twice. Whenever your company comes up with some grandiose plan, especially if they have some sort of layout for an amazing new rebuild of an entire area, like when it came to the cable company in Buffalo, they were going to redesign the entire waterfront. They were going to buy the entire waterfront and redesign everything. When it come to Cogden International with their local here in central New York with the Carousel Mall, they had this grand plan where they were basically going to turn the mall into an arcology. They were going to put a huge dome over it. It's going to have an indoor park. It was amazing to look at it. These plans always completely fall apart and almost always precede some sort of financial disaster.
It's especially worse considering Toronto is one of the biggest cities in Canada.
I truly believe that there's something seriously wrong with Google and Alphabet if they are doing this. I don't care how much money they have.
I think that there was something wrong with them before.
No, I thought there was something morally wrong. Now this terrifies me on a financial level. If I had stock in that company, I'd be selling it right now. Every time I've seen this maneuver, it's smoke and mirrors designed to draw attention away from something else serious. With the cable company in Buffalo, within a week, 3 members were arrested and charged with fraud and like embezzlement and all sorts of crap. Cogden, I forget, I can't pronounce his name, but he's just a con artist to begin with. Okay, he went from arcology to basically just building a hotel outside of his mall. I mean, on top of a mercury poisoned landscape that used to be a field of oil drums. Okay, this is, but people don't realize this unless you lived in the area. He basically paved over an entire field of nothing but oil drums that were just rusting and leaking for years. And so I'm like sitting there and going, you built a hotel on top of this toxic dump. Okay, maybe they cleaned it up. I mean, everybody knows the hotel. I mean, the mall itself is slowly sinking into the lake. It's hysterical. The whole mall is slowly listing to the side. It's amazing. But every time that I've seen this, the big, huge reimagining of a city or waterfront or whatever, it never comes through. It always is downsized, if it goes through at all, and it almost always precedes some sort of financial disaster. So if you've got stock in Google, although I am going with voice of one on this one, I truly believe that probably a lot of money is going to be siphoned away from Toronto and into the pockets of a lot of people. That's probably what's happening. This is probably just some sort of massive money laundering. Oh, by the way, to answer your question, there's 15 episodes, but there's only 3 more episodes until they take a hiatus and then start it back up in January to finish the last 6, I believe.
Why would they start it back up?
I don't know why they broke it up like that, but personally, I would have waited until January to renew. 6 weeks in is far too early to make a decision because you don't know how many people you're going to keep. And I'm telling you right now, I made the mistake of seeing episode 6. I'm going to not, no matter how much it's going to drive me insane, I'm not looking at episode 7. I'm not watching anymore because it's just going to, after episode 6, where I was hoping somehow they would actually address the rape of this guy for 7 months. But but yeah, that's where we're getting at here. At any rate, babble for a few seconds because I got to check Twitter. Hold on one sec. Any thoughts, by the way, on Google from your point of view?
Fuck. I mean, as a company, they started out not too bad. When they first bought YouTube, they were doing okay, and their search engine, except the whole, fucked up bias results thing, it's very, I want to say good in the sense that they have a lot of people using it and they make a lot of money, but their decisions have slowly been going downhill within the past few years. And then this whole thing in Toronto, that's one huge step. And their company already is getting a really bad reputation. A lot of people are switching from the things that it owns to others, such as people using DuckDuckGo instead of Google, or VidMe instead of YouTube. And fuck, what now? Are people gonna just stop going to Toronto because of these guys?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I've already been hearing a lot of bad things about Toronto in general, that it's getting pretty hazardous.
It's absolute shit.
But no, I mean, but actually, since you brought up the issue of YouTube, hold on one sec. I'm gonna move something up the queue.
All right.
Now, most people don't know this, but there was some show, I had never heard of it, called Sense8 that was canceled by Netflix. And the internet went furious. I don't understand what was going on, but whatever. However, have you ever heard of X Hamster? The website?
No.
They're a porn site. X Hamster has made so much money that they offered to buy the show, rights to the show, and produce it themselves. This is actually
porn site.
This has been an ongoing trend. These porn sites have been making so much money that they have decided, you know what? Why don't we try making non-porn content? And they do allow free upload. I know one or two people have been talking about, like, hey, if YouTube ever goes down, I'm going to some porn site because at least when I upload stuff, I'm certain it won't be censored. But at first I thought that was a great joke. But, I'm starting to wonder if places like X Hamster, all of these, triple X places are going to actually become the next bastion of free speech. Because I don't know a lot of people know this, but that was basically what Hustler was all about. They were all about, like, look, we have the right to free speech, even this disgusting filth that we produce. And they had a whole movie about it when I was like, wow, actually this guy was pretty right on. I got to admit, a lot of his stuff was pure smut, but he did have a point, which is if you censor me, anybody can be censored. He, and for the owner of Hustler, I forget what his name was, it was a mission. And I'm beginning to wonder if that is where the next, where the final, if this was a culture war, where is the final line that you fall back to? And it may very well be these porn sites, because having looked over this and looked into it, X Hamster, I forget what some of those, like X Videos, some other places. If you combine like the top 4, they rival YouTube. I mean, as by monthly content, by how much is uploaded. Like, they have the volume, they have the infrastructure, they have the access. Okay, admittedly, they also have tons of porn. Besides that little drawback there, I'm beginning to wonder if...
I wouldn't consider it a drawback.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, it certainly draws people. I mean, it's not the kind of place you go to looking for political commentary, but I'm actually beginning to think about finding like a couple of porn sites and start mirroring all my videos there just to see what traffic I get. Any thoughts on this? I just thought this was hysterical.
I don't think I'm going to be switching over to uploading on one of those sites anytime soon.
I'm probably just going to mirror if I do this because, I mean, actually mirroring is a major pain in the ass. But that just the idea is that, you know what? I know the BitChute has a lot of promise, but they just can't handle the volume. Same with Gab and everybody else. These new upsites, I like their attitudes. They just don't have the infrastructure. They just don't have the chops. Maybe they will eventually, but right now they don't. These porn sites, well, you know what? They've got it. And I will say this, none of them censor. None of them. You know.
Oh, yeah, you got illegal content on there, like uploading copyrighted movies and stuff.
Oh, yeah, like they just do not give a crap. They do not give a crap at all. So, you know, it's one place where, you know, I can upload and I can be seen. Of course, there's the shame and stigma of being on a porn site. But, you know what? I think it's a bit... I think that places like Xhamster willing to try to... I think they'd probably be better off just getting a new domain name and just hosting it on their own servers. But that's just me. Any thoughts on this?
Not really.
Okay, I don't think this one even needs to be discussed because it's all in the title. From Metro. Dear white people, you've never been discriminated against, so shut up.
That in itself is discrimination.
Yes. It's just... By the way, the person who made this is the biggest Muslim on the planet, but okay. It's just... you don't even need to read the rest of the article because it's the usual, you know, social justice warrior, racist bullshit. It's such bigotry. It really is. It's total bigotry. But to have a title like that is in and of itself so freaking racist. It's hysterical. But I just like to repeat this for everybody out there who's going, well, you know, if you can't be racist if you're white because no, it's not. Power plus prejudice equals racism because nobody wants to make racism. Even racists don't make racism. It's people's prejudice plus your bigotry manipulating their prejudice, which gives you power. Okay? Power doesn't create bigotry. Bigotry creates power. And that's what people want. People want power. Okay, so if you're arguing that somebody out there is willing to sacrifice power just to create racism, you're insane. No one would give up power to create racism. They would use racism to get power, but not the other way around. So, yeah, it's the same old, if you're white, you can't be discriminated against because you're in control, blah, blah, blah.
Well, wasn't there old argument that if you're white, nobody can be racist towards you, but they can discriminate you and be prejudiced against you? And now it's just, you can't be discriminated against? What?
Yeah. I mean, look at this. Slavery was around for 245 years. Okay.
Slavery is still around.
Yeah, but it's the Muslims doing it. It's the Muslims who are enslaving people. 25% of those killed by police are black, despite them only being 13% of the population. And more cops are killed by black people than black people are killed by cops. And black people commit more crimes. And this is
that 75% of other people killed by cops.
Oh, yeah. And if you're white, you're far more likely to be killed by a cop than a black person. Okay, but, you know, what's going on? 34% of the prison population is black, and 75% of the black population is being raised in single-parent families, which it has been proven that if you have both your parents together and living with you, you're usually financially better off and less likely to go to jail. So, you know, sorry about that, but that's the way it is. You know, 45.
Generally, isn't it single mothers?
Single mothers are the worst.
And you don't really have that father figure in your life when you're raised in a single parent home with, well, no father figure. So you don't get the same lessons that you would get in life.
My personal favorite, well, I agree with you on everything, but here's my personal favorite. I'm going to skip to this one. 1,064 racially motivated incidents were reported in the first months after Trump was elected. Keyword here, reported. Oh, reported incidents have skyrocketed. Reported incidents have skyrocketed? How many convictions of racial discrimination? How many actual proven cases have there been? And when you look at that, I'm sorry, it's right on par. Hasn't gotten any better, hasn't gotten any worse. In fact, probably is declining very slowly. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's why they got to go and do this. And by the way, this is a personal pet peeve. I hate it when these people use the word neo-Nazis or the word Nazi because they don't know what a Nazi is. I've actually dealt with Nazis. It was a long time, but not neo-Nazis, and they're not Nazis. There are no Nazis in America. There's really neo-Nazis. And the neo-Nazis, they're just a cult. The real neo-Nazis. They're a cult, and they're a drug gang. Okay? And they use Nazi symbolism, and they say, hey, get, the swastika tattooed on your skin. Why? Because like all cults, they don't want you to have friends or family outside of the cult. And by making you adopt the whole neo-Nazi bullshit attitude, most of these people can't even read. They don't even understand what Nazism is about. They haven't even read Mein Kampf. They don't care. They just know, hey, I've got a swastika and it's cool and we intimidate everybody. They're just freaking drug dealers. And every time one of these liberals uses the term Nazi or neo-Nazi incorrectly, they are creating a smokescreen for these guys. On top of attacking the police, so I believe, what was it? We have 30% less police force in America overall now. Hey, we have an opioid epidemic because doctors are handing out prescriptions too much. Or maybe we have 30% less cops and thus we are getting less drug dealers off the streets. Maybe if we had more cops, there'd be less crime and less drug dealers. I don't know. Just a thought. Maybe we need more cops rather than to, go after the doctors. Christ. Trump, love you, man, but get your act together. This whole war on the opioid bullshit. Solve the opioid crisis. Get more cops. There you go. Sorry.
I have to disagree.
Okay, please do.
If people know what they're buying, and there's a whole difference between a doctor prescribing something to someone, either wrongly or just too much of it, and then there's drug dealers. And I have no problem because I see dealing drugs as a business, I guess, and if people know what they're getting, then there shouldn't be a problem with it, and cops shouldn't, well, the state in general shouldn't be able to interfere with business unless they're actually doing something that harms people. The person doesn't choose.
I'm sorry. Here's the problem. Here in the States, the chain is doctors don't actually fix problems. They throw painkillers at the problems because it's cheaper, and the insurance companies will pay for painkillers. They won't pay for treatment. People get addicted to the painkillers, but the painkillers don't work anymore, and so they go and get heroin. And around here, the heroin synthetic high blend is the problem. Oh yeah, and that problem can be dealt with cops. The doctors prescribing stuff, I think they should be left alone to do what they do. Although I think if you fix Obamacare, you'll probably fix a lot of this, you'll fix the opioid epidemic if you fix Obamacare. Because people will will get their illnesses treated as opposed to just having, painkillers to deal with the agony. And then without people getting addicted to the, painkillers and discovering they don't work anymore because, you build up a tolerance, they won't go to the synthetics. But if you're not going to fix Obamacare, which isn't being allowed right now because it's deadlocked, the only real solution is more cops to at least get the dealers off the streets. And given, I know there's people out there probably listening going, hey, maybe we should decriminalize all drugs because it'll reduce the crime rate, blah, blah, blah. I understand intellectually your argument, but right now here in central New York, the synthetics combined with the heroin it's pure evil. Okay, There's no drug like it. It is addiction instantly, physically addicting in one shot. I have seen the effects. One hit and you are an addict. That is how intense this stuff is. You will be physically addicted on the first try. Do not take it. Like, just heroin is nowhere near as bad as this heroin synthetic hybrid they got going around. I forget what it's called, but that stuff, you know, I'm all for, you know, the deregulation, all that other crap. Okay, fine. That's a nice long-term solution. But right now, we need more cops in central New York. You know, the Mayor Minor, her last name's Minor. Mayor Minor, like, gutted the police department. And it's showing. Crime's way up. Murder's way up. Everything's bad. The drug epidemic is out of control. And it's because we have no cops. Yeah, but sorry to rant on you there. But you did have a point, too. It's just, at least here centrally in the localized area, your comments are great for overall. But here in central New York, our specific circumstances, we need more cops right now. We can deal with the long-term problem, but right now we need more cops. But any other comments?
New York is a hellhole. It always needs more cops.
Yes, that is true.
From an end cap, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that is true. New York State as a whole. I mean, if I wasn't tied here by the need for my health insurance, I would have left long ago. But at any rate, moving on to The Left Eats Its Own. Did you hear about Ellen DeGeneres?
She got, like, attacked online for comments about some other celebrities' tits, right?
Yeah, 3 years ago. That's right. 3 years ago, she posted a picture to her friend who she was ogling the breasts of. You know, hey, let's break out the balloons, which at the time I believe was a reference to her song at the time, which was something about parties or something. So it was a joke. Ellen DeGeneres is a comedian, not a good one, but she tries. Okay, I got it. But apparently the left is like exploded on this. And I will say
the left loved Ellen.
They do, but now the big thing is, you know, if this was a man, everybody be up in arms about this, which is true. There is a double standard about this, but the double standard should not be we need to crucify Ellen DeGeneres. It's we have to stop crucifying men for joking around. Okay? Like, if it's your friend, and everybody's cool with it, you shouldn't be getting offended on somebody else's behalf. Okay? They're allowed to defend themselves. So, yeah, both sides are correct here. This is a double standard. And, you know, this whole thing is just being blown out of proportion. But, I don't know. I just wanted to... I love it when the left eats their own. I just love it. Any thoughts?
I think I've shared all of my thoughts, though not a lot.
And by the way, as a kind note, Katy Perry's boobs are not that impressive. Sorry,
yeah,
I just
they're not.
You know, I'm just not impressed. Sorry, I don't want to say they look fake, but they also look meh, just meh. Anyway, moving on. Hear about the flaming French drone.
Flaming French... Please explain.
Well, He Will Not Divide Us has put his flag up in France. And the 4chan got together a remote-controlled drone, attached a burning rag to it, and then flew it up to on top of the building in an attempt to set fire to the flag, which, by the way, is flame resistant. Okay, because they assumed that at some point somebody was going to try to burn the flag. But the fact that they even tried.
That's beautiful.
Oh, yes. I mean, that we've got burning drones flying at you. The drone crashed, and so it was recovered by the authorities. But I just love the fact that it's like, okay, we're going to have to break out the drones. I'm waiting for somebody to create a high-powered laser. And just like James Bond villain, this thing, and just whoosh. hats off to 4chan. Nice job. I'm sorry, but, you know, in the capture the flag game, I'm afraid that, you know, Shia LaBeouf has definitely upped his game.
Sadly.
Sadly. So you're
There's
going
always one way to one-up him, though.
I'm not saying this, but I am expecting somebody to just put a bomb on a drone, fly it up there, and make it go boom.
Why not?
Because it'd be a felon and get him in jail. Like, even the... I mean, I'm sorry. If they catch this guy, they're charging him with arson. No question about it. No question. It doesn't matter. This is arson. Okay? But hats off to you, man. Do not blow it up. Do not set it on fire. But to the guy who did, I am impressed, sir. I tip my hat. Holy crap. And I appreciate this because I have needed a laugh. It has been a very, very depressing couple of weeks. Any thoughts on the flaming French drones?
I wonder what's next. I don't think they're going to go straight from fire to bombs. There's got to be something in between, so I can't wait to see what 4chan comes up with next.
My solution would be to add paint to a drone and a sort of a sprinkler system that kind of sprays universally all over the place. Green paint. Yep. And just fly the drone up there with the green paint and just, you know, they have that, you know, that guy put a gun on a drone. You can put a can of pressurized paint on it and you can fly that sucker up there and turn that sucker green.
Or why don't you get one of those drone like mini plane things that allow you to fly that up to the flag and paint it yourself?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think the goal was not to be caught. So I think that was what it was about. But yeah, my next, if you really wanted green paint bomb, green paint, you know, or if I could do it, catapult filled with, you know, paint-filled balloons and just start hurling them from another, you know, you'd have to distance it, probably test your catapult a couple of times to make sure you can get the distance and everything, and just start pelting it.
Paintball gun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they've got some really good paintball guns that can get some huge distance these days. You know, if you can just get on a nearby building, you could probably just, you know, it'd probably have to be, you'd have to arc it like you was indirect fire. But if you had enough paintballs, you could probably paste that sucker or at least get some green paint on it. Just some. It'd just be a Pyrrhic victory.
Even one dot. You just need that little bit of green paint on
because it's constantly filmed live. You know, as it happens, somebody's going to be recording it and it'll be everywhere. And as soon as it gets bad enough, they'll take it down because they'll go, this is getting too dangerous, and it'll have to be moved.
I want them to move it to my city or at least my province because
get it within a 2-hour drive. I want a shot at it. And by the way, Shia LaBeouf, do not be discouraged, my friend. You are running the world's greatest, you know, alternate reality game. The ultimate capture the flag. You must continue this. I love the new season. Okay? Just setting it on fire. We can up our game. We can up our game to this. You know? Something with lots of spinning blades. I don't know, but trust me. We can up our game.
That would be a whole other level.
We need to take this to the next level there, you know? Or something. I don't know.
It needs to go to every single city in every Western nation until it's completely destroyed. The same flag.
And you know what it is. The final season must be like Fast and Furious, where the flag must be on a robotic car. Like the Google robotic car, and it never stops.
It in the Middle East.
Oh, God, yes. Then you could use actual weapons on it. You wouldn't have to start with like paint. There'd be actual mortar fire. Just we need a version of the "He Will Not Divide His Flag" in Arabic.
Yes.
Oh God, yes. Yeah, but that'd be a nice finale. But I also I like that at some point he should put it on like the Google automatic car that drives around taking pictures of all the roads, and have it on top of that. Just Google could just so it's always on the move. You never know where it is. Oh, that'd be incredibly dangerous because you know somebody would try to jump on the side of that thing to climb on. Oh.
Standing in their front yard waiting for the Google car, having a few guns next to them.
Oh yeah, definitely to be open fire. But okay, but still. Ah well, but I look forward to how this season will unfold of Shia LaBeouf's He Will Not Divide Us, Capture the Flag.
Finally a show I can get into.
Oh yes. Anyway, moving on a bit. You know, I didn't really want to bring up Harvey Weinstein. I thought he was kind of worth ignoring. But did you hear about his rehab?
I heard a bit about it.
He finished his sex addiction rehab in 1 week. Which includes him sleeping in his sessions. He nodded off in his group therapy.
I don't get it. If something that's actually addicting is going to take someone supposedly a week to get over, then you would think that things like marijuana, which are only addicting in the sense that you get dependent on it, you could get over quickly. So it's clearly he's not okay.
Well, see, here's the problem, and I mean, it's quite clear to me that basically Mr. Weinstein went to whoever his doctor was and said, I'm going to give you a pile of money, and if you don't take it, I'll destroy your life. And, I mean, it's clear to everybody that that's what happened, because no doctor would have said this. No doctor. But the doctor himself was the one who disclosed all this. But he's going back for another month just to be on the safe side. But, here's the thing, and it's something I brought up before. I'm going to reiterate it now. Is Weinstein in comparison to Trump? Trump was interested in sex. That's what it was about. He liked getting laid. Okay? So, and people, oh, no, that's a shame to hear about. Mr. Weinstein does not care about getting laid. It was all about the power. He wanted to ruin. He wanted to drag everybody down to his level. He wanted to show that everybody was as corrupt as him. It had nothing to do with actually getting laid. It had nothing to do with getting his rocks off. It had to do with terrorizing people and forcing them to come down to his level. It was about power. It's always been about power. This guy has all the symptoms of being a dopamine risk addict. He is an addict to dopamine, and everything he does, why he keeps escalating, why he keeps taking bigger and bigger risks and doing stupider and stupider things, is because he's not getting a high anymore. That's what happens when you're a risk dopamine addict, which is any gambler, any adrenaline addict, any politician who has become addicted to dopamine does this. They do dumber and dumber things. And everybody goes, why is this guy doing such dumb things? Because you're an addict. And the risk that you did 10 years ago does not give you the same high as the risk you do today. So that's why he chases people around in cars. That's why he wanders into, random actresses', hotel's room naked, wearing nothing but a towel, looking like Jabba the Hutt sprawled over a couch. That's why he keeps doing these increasingly crazier things. And 1 week is not going to cure this guy. This guy will not be cured until he cuts cold turkey. He needs to take a year off of doing anything. He needs to go live in the woods with nothing, chopping wood and finding his own food. That is what he needs to do to dry out. It's not going to happen with this guy. He's got too much money, too many people dependent on him. He was conducting business during his therapy sessions. He would answer his phone, which technically is not allowed, but it's allowed for him. He's got way too much power and he's way too addicted, and this guy is not going to be cured. And in some ways, I have a little bit of pity for him because there's nobody who's going to step up to him and tell him the truth, which is, dude, you've got a real problem and you're going to pay for it eventually. But nobody's going to save this guy. And he's doomed. He's doomed. he is going to do something so stupid that he's going to either wind up in jail or shot by some jealous somebody. Any thoughts?
Not really. I never really knew too much about the guy. But on one hand, I hope he eventually realizes that he's fucked up completely, though somehow I don't think that's going to happen.
When he's throwing around 30,000, I think, pounds a day for his treatment, no. He needs to go to he needs to be committed. He needs to have everything stripped from him, and he has to have all power taken away. And he needs about a month or two just to sit there helpless. And honestly, if for some reason Harry Weinstein or somebody who knows him is listening to this, it will do you so good. As speaking as a former addict to dopamine risk taking. Okay, I loved power, and I know over a 7-year period, I had the same thing, which was I had to do bigger and bigger, riskier things in order to get just to not feel miserable. Okay, and drying out took almost 3 years. You know, I still sometimes think very fondly back to those days. But it's not going to work, and I feel bad for him. So, at any rate, other than that, he's doomed. And although there's one positive thing for all of this, it's creating this cascade of witch hunts in Hollywood, where everybody's crawling out of the woodwork with their stories now. It's the latest fan. Confess your sexual molestation. I hope Hollywood burns to the ground. Any last thoughts?
Not really. I agree with everything that you've said.
All right, moving into what you pointed me out to Huffington Post. I didn't get to read this one too much, but Sharia is not progressive, whereas your point is the fact that Huffington Post is talking poorly about, Muslims and Islam and Sharia law, that is proof that things are finally starting to change.
Whether it be for the worse or the better, I'm not quite sure yet.
Well, I think that what you're seeing is, and actually, Triad Logic's the one who brought this up, so, props to her for coming up with the concept. But what you're seeing here is the left is cannibalizing itself, okay? And there's the smartest leftists, the smartest progressives, are seeing the writing on the wall. And the smartest progressives are not really progressives. They're just following whatever trend comes along. And so a lot of them are going, okay, you know what? Maybe it's time to jump ship. And they're becoming conservatives, but only in name. All right, they still do the same things they've always done. They're just, touting, conservative points of view. They're still the exact same totalitarian, fascist bigots they always were. It's just that they've got a different tune, which will actually lead into my next topic. But and do you, since you brought this up, did you have any thoughts about this article?
Not really. I mean, when I first saw this, I don't remember if I saw it on Twitter or not. I think I did, and I didn't realize that the Huffington Post would ever post something like this. And then I did a little bit of a Google search on it, and it turns out this isn't the first time that Huffington Post has said something in a not so positive light about Islam.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been slowly leaning towards this side, softening their Islam is great thing. But yeah, reading through the article, they call out, why did Gloria Steinem stand with Sarsour? Do Jewish, feminists understand that Sarsour thinks they cannot be feminists if they're Zionists? The marriage of feminism and Sharia law is bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. I do not understand it.
People say opposites attract, but this is a whole new level.
I can only assume that it's because fundamentally they have the exact same operating system. You know, the same fastest operating system.
Yeah.
You know, and if your operating system is identical, the particulars don't really matter. You know, and you know, I'm Better Than You is always brings this up, and I'm beginning to believe he's true. He's right about this. I sometimes wonder if feminists have this kind of fetish with being raped. I mean, I'm not like it's this weird thing. They're really into suffering, or like they seem to fetishize it, or you know, or they really push the whole, you know, hey, if you're with a man, he should allow you to sleep with other men so you can like, and then like it's this weird thing when you start looking deeper into the whole feminist and what porn they're into. They're really into like black men sleeping with white women while their white husbands watch. I mean, it's not all of them, but there's a rather sizable percentage. And I'm sitting there when I'm looking at the details, I'm like, what the hell? Because every once in a while I spoof a personality and I sneak onto some feminist websites, which I shouldn't be on because I'm a man. But when I read some of their comments, it's bizarre. And I don't want to post it because I don't want them figuring out who I am. Because it took a long time for me to get into some places. But that's it. It's surreal. It's surreal. It's not all of them, though, but it's like, you know, feminists is a very small percentage of our society, yet they hold a lot of sway. And so I think among feminists, these ultra weirdos, who the other feminists kind of look at and start to back away from, have a lot of sway too, because the feminists are like, we all have to stick together. Which of course leads to the tyranny of the, you know, inconsiderate. You know, if you don't care about anybody else, but everybody has to stick together, you go running off your own way. You will drag everybody else along with you. But any thoughts on this before we move on?
I mean, I've met a lot of feminists, whether it be online or offline, because I used to be quite active protesting stuff, and never once have I had one of them either post something or say anything about that kind of sexual fetish. Whether it be things, as you mentioned, black men and white cocks.
It's never in a public forum. It's never in a public forum. I'll tell you that. You will not see it. You've got to sneak your way in.
Yeah, and they seem like normal people, but a few of them that I've known more personally and I've gotten to know over the course of 2 or 3 years, I want to say that it's actually a surprising amount of them that are into this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, intellectually from a... Hold on one sec. Sorry about that. Intellectually, I can kind of see it because the whole feminist philosophy, if you accept it, I had a video about it, about social justice warriors versus non-social justice warriors communication. Their fundamental belief system really is masochistic. Okay? If you accept their fundamental belief system, you must hate yourself. Because everybody's evil. Everybody is evil if you accept feminism. Everybody is equally evil. You are a bad person. Everybody is bad, you especially. And you can try and try and try and be better. But you are fundamentally a bad person. This is the bottom line. And so it would attract, in my opinion, people who are more masochistic. People who hate themselves and want to suffer and get off on suffering, and you can enjoy suffering. So that is kind of why I think it might be that way, but to be honest, I don't understand that part. I do not understand wanting to suffer. Okay, but Any philosophy that told me I was a horrible person, I would stop and go, am I a horrible person? No. No, I'm not. I'm not a horrible person. So you're wrong. But it sneaks up on you. You know, if it is, they don't come right out and say you're horrible. Everybody's horrible. They give you their equations. They give you their operating system, and that is the inevitable conclusion. It will always lead to you as a feminist are a bad person just because you're a human being. They hate humanity. You cannot love humanity and be a feminist or a social justice warrior or any of these. I mean, it's really sad, but that is, in my opinion, psychologically speaking, the case. Like, you can be a casual feminist and not really drink the Kool-Aid, but if you're a real feminist, you've drank the Kool-Aid and you accept their core beliefs, the inevitable conclusion is you're a horrible person. That's it. So, I'm repeating myself. Any thoughts before we move on?
Not really.
This one stood out to me as a true sign of our times. The ACLU, the ones who fight for free speech, back down and stop defending free speech because hecklers in their audience shouted them down.
What?
Yep, the ACLU, which, by the way, seems to be led entirely by old fat women of multiple different races. Then on September 27th, they were supposed to give a talk on the freedom of speech at the College of William and Mary. Members of Black Lives Matter stormed the stage, shouted them down, and they gave up their right to free speech because the Black Lives Matter claimed that ACLU were white supremacists.
What?
You protect Hitler too. The revolution will not uphold the Constitution. Liberalism is white supremacy. What the hell? Oh my God, are you completely and freaking insane? ACLU is the group that will go to the mat to defend you, Black Lives Matter, and you are calling... I'm sorry. I still laugh when I read this one. It's insane. Any thoughts on the ACLU becoming a caricature of itself?
Fucking hell. How why?
Why? You want my opinion? And you know what? At this point, I don't freaking care what anybody cares. It's because there's a bunch of women. Okay? I'm sorry. But the ACLU used to be manned by men. And these men would stand up there. If it was one guy, he would stand against a crowd of 1,000 people and say, no, you will beat the shit out of me, but you will not get me to back down. I will fight for the right of free speech, even if I'm going to die right here. You had people who did that. You had people who would jump in front of bullets. You had people, but these women, I'm sorry, easily intimidated. That's it. You know, I'm sorry, but you know, men are the crazy ones. Women are the sensible ones. You know, but you know, that sensibility comes at a price, which is, you know, sometimes when you take the pragmatic solution, you lose. Sometimes you need to go big or go home. You need to take risks, and sometimes that involves just standing there in front of somebody saying, you yell as much as you want, I'm going to stand here until you finally get tired and go home. One of us is going to collapse from exhaustion, and whoever is left standing gets the stage. Unless you're going to beat the crap out of me and kill me, I will crawl up out of my own grave and I will be on this stage standing right here until I have my say. Even if everybody goes home, even if I'm the only one here, even if it is 4 frickin' a.m. in the morning, they will have to drag me out of here in handcuffs or dead, feet first, before I yield this stage and do not have my say. I will talk to an empty room before I give up. That is what I would have done. They would not have budged me. They would not have moved me 1 inch. Because I'm nuts. And because I have dealt with clients where I have literally had to go face to face for 10 hours with. And I am used to that. So I'm used to dealing with absolutely crazy people for hours on end. But I don't think that these women, and looking at the picture, I'm just going, my God, you are all so soft. You are so soft. So, sorry. Sorry, sexist of me. I don't care. I really don't. Any other thoughts before we move on?
More concern than thoughts. You okay there, Bob? You sound very,
I'm a big... there are two things I'm for. Truth and the right to speak. Okay? I am a big fan of... I may not believe in what you say, but you have every right to say it. I want you to say it because I want everybody to know exactly how stupid you are. I want you to rant your head off and say every dumb thing you're thinking because it's the only way I'm going to get inside your head. And this disgusts me. This disgusts me. These are the people who are supposed to be the crazies who fight for Hitler. Yeah, they're supposed to fight for Hitler. Because Hitler has the right to speak too. Then go to jail if he was still alive. That's it. Moving on.
What's next?
This is one that nobody's been talking about that I want to bring up. I'm not entirely sure if it's that big a deal because it's an old one, but it was finally crossed my desk. Clinton apparently bribed 6 Republicans to destroy Trump. Says WikiLeaks.
I definitely believe it then.
I mean, this is coming. I mean, this was brought to me when I was like going, oh, really? That whole Podesto thing was you know, of course, everybody's been. It's not in the mainstream, but everybody's heard about how the Golden Showers memo about how Trump hired hookers to pee on Obama's bed. Yeah. Apparently, they finally connected the dots to Clinton's campaign. And
finally,
they have proven that Clinton's campaign paid for it. And about the same time, this crossed my computer, and I'm like, wow, they really went all out. But the thing that really kills me is that Hillary Clinton came out and said, nobody told me.
What? Are you not in charge of your own campaign?
Are you telling me that somebody went out, hired an ex-Russian agent to canned craft, a guy whose specialty is disinformation, psyops, and political manipulation, hired him to make a fake report that made Trump look like he was completely psychotic, and nobody leaned over and nobody asked you, should we do this, ma'am? Nobody clued you in. Everybody just said, we're just going to do this without telling her. Oh my God, if it is true that you didn't know, I am so glad you never got elected president because you are the most incompetent cunt on the planet. You would have gotten everybody killed if you don't know that your own campaign is doing this.
I'm not sure if her claiming that she had no idea makes her look worse or better.
It makes her look worse, in my opinion, because not only does it make her look like an idiot, but it's clearly she's lying. Well, yeah. No, you're lying. You're lying.
That what she was saying, people believed. Like, obviously, she's a fucking liar.
But yeah, and all 6 of these Republicans, by the way, they need to not be reelected, and I believe 2 of them were. I mean, there's that Flake guy who's not doing it. There's another guy who's not seeking reelection. But I think the big one is McCain. I mean, McCain didn't get flat out money, but I believe they also basically said there will be no... No, wait, was it McCain? No, McCain was the one who got the money. 2 large donations to his super PAC. But Kirkpatrick was the one who was basically told by the DNC that there will be nobody competing against you in your area. And Senator Lindsey Graham, you're a scumbag. Okay? They said that we would clear the road for you to run in 2020 for president. Fuck you. You all need to be burned alive. Torn into itty bitty. No, you all need to be torn into itty bitty pieces and buried alive. In that order.
Something tells me that they're not going to be alive by the time you bury them.
I would find a way. But that
sure you would.
said, I predicted this, that this was going to happen, that this was going to come out, that we were going to find that a lot of the Republicans who didn't like Trump were actually working with the Democrats. I just didn't think it was going to actually be a paper trail. And Donald Trump is clearly cleaning house. Who is that guy who runs? Is it InfoWars? I forget what his name. Bannon.
Alex Jones?
No, Bannon.
No.
Yeah,
that's the only name I know from InfoWars.
No, Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon got kicked out of the White House, and everybody thought there was something else. Want to know something? That was total four-dimensional chess, in my opinion. I think that the two of them talked. Steve Bannon said, "You know what? I'm doing more harm in the White House than I do outside." And Donald Trump said, "All right, I'm going to kick you." Well, then no. We need to make a big show of kicking me out, and then I'll do more on the outside. And he is systematically attacking these rhinos, these Republicans in name only. I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's amazing. You're going to see, after the 2018 election, you're going to see a new Republican Congress that is basically finally in line with Trump. And that's when he's finally going to get stuff done. On the other hand, you're going to see a huge crushing defeat by the Democrats because they just don't have the numbers. And they're still, this stuff keeps rolling out, especially with the sexual allegations. I don't have an article on it, though. Is there anything else you wanted to say on this?
Not really.
The only thing I want to bring up is it's just an observation before we wrap things up here. Male feminists. More and more male feminists keep coming up as rapists, as molesters, as pedophiles. All the way from Josh Whedon down to like this smallest advocate. I think at this point we just need to make it quite clear. If you're a male feminist, you're probably a sexual predator.
Yeah, I mean, you said before when we were talking about the whole feminists and their interests, you think that it'd be a lot worse with the male ones, especially considering that they would be on the non-receiving end of those fantasies.
Yeah, and I think obviously you get a lot of resentment built up and starting to think, but the whole friend zone rapist thing where I've been your friend for years, so give me some. That seems to be male feminists. Most normal humans, most males go, oh, well, I've been putting a lot of time and effort into this friendship and you're just interested in just being friends. So you know what? I'm going to find somebody else. Any sane, sensible male goes on. These guys are crazy. And I think that, but there seems to be two types. There seems to be the socially awkward predator. Those seem to be the ones who wind up being pedophiles. And then there's the socially, acceptable ones who are pretty good at being very manipulative. And I'm looking at you, Onision, and, Russian Deadpool. Those guys are the ones who are suave. But they're also, as far as I'm concerned, sexual predators who are manipulating women with poor self-esteem, which feminism attracts women with poor self-esteem because the very nature of feminism is you must hate yourself. We can't outlaw male feminists, but pretty much if you're listening to this, you're a woman and you know a male feminist, get the fuck away from him. Seriously. Holy crap. He's probably got a basement with a pit where he starves you and then he kills you and skins you and wears you. Seriously. You will get the hose. Any thoughts on male feminists before we end this?
Oh boy, I have a lot of thoughts on male feminists, but that is something for another time.
Yeah, we are running late. It's almost 12:10, so. Alrighty. Any closing thoughts or closing topics before we move on?
Nah.
All right. Well, this wraps up our political topical comments. Again, tomorrow night, usual time, but we will be ranting. I have copious notes about the many horrible things of Star Trek Discovery. Please, if you want to be on the show, come on. I will get you on the Discord. And if you just want to hang out in the topic in the live chat, that works too. Otherwise, it's been real and it's been fun. And I think it's been real fun. Thanks you all for coming by. Those of you who watch and those of you who watch later, I hope you're having a pleasant day whenever you watch this. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a pleasant evening. Any closing thoughts?
Good luck.
Good luck, everybody, and have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.